Hi guys, I'm Noise Pixel, and today I'm going to show you how to make some procedural content. So, to show off just an example of what I have, I made this little building here, that way so you can see how it works. And there's not a lot of features for it, but so far I just have over here the wall length. You can stretch it out. It gets a little bit weird if you go over there. And I have the wall width, so over here, just the wall dimensions really, just to get started. I'm gonna improve this, maybe add some stairs and some floors and stuff. Wait, I have floors right here and some other stuff, but this is basically the gist of it. And also it's a update active, so I could like turn it off and get if I'm like making like a rather larger house, I could turn that also on to constantly update it. So yeah, I can always turn it on. That's pretty convenient. So let's get started. I'm gonna go to stag generator here because I have two of my experiments on. So basically this entire thing works inside the construction script. So if you don't know what the construction script is, maybe you're new to Unreal Engine, it's basically a blueprint editor it's a blueprint graph that executes inside the editor. So you saw me change that stuff in real time inside the editor. It actually stops executing once you're in runtime, when you're in the actual game. But once you're in the editor, you could use it to, you know, make it whatever you need to make out of it. It's good for things along the nature of I can't even think right now. It's good for creating content in real time, well, semi real time. So anyway. So here's the update active. Of course, when it's false, it does nothing. But if it's true, it fires off these three things from the sequence nodes. And so the first one, it's like I generate the walls first. And when I generate the walls, I basically use a for loop here. So you see a for loop here, start at 1 and go to the wall length. And of course, I expose the wall length parameter. That was like an edit, as you can see inside the details panel over there. And so that's adjustable. If you see a door location right here, this is actually for I actually had this randomized, but you don't have to randomize it, you can just set it. But basically it'll skip a wall for each for whatever number. So if you set the door down to 4, whenever in this for loop it's on the 4th iteration, it'll skip the wall. So there's that. But the actual thing that generates the wall is the so right here is the it's a variable wall instance, or I had to remember this myself. I did this a few days ago. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So basically, I'm working off of static meshes. I've tried with destructible meshes, but like, it needs to be an instance static mesh for this not be too cost heavy on your PC. That's why I was experimenting with the destructible procedural content, but that doesn't work too well once you start going higher. So plug this into the add instance component node. And then basically you set the location. But the thing about the location is, if you just do that for the whole for loop, it'll just be in the same spot. And so what you will have to do is like have on the transform, make the vector, take the index you're on and multiply it by the size of the wall. So if you go over to my wall size, actually, and go to content browser right over here. Now see, if you look at the dimensions right here, 211, that's actually the width of the wall. So from, can't even tell, hang on, from this corner to that corner, that's the 211 measurement. And so you take the wall measurement of whatever wall you're making, and then of course multiply by the iteration, so it'll be by 1 by 2, and you move that along the x value or the y value depending on where it's rotated at. And then you just plug that to the location, and you put it into the transform. And to show you what that looks like, I'm gonna disconnect this one, compile it, and then where is that? Oh, well, apparently it doesn't do that. What am I doing? Let's see. Add mesh instance. Never mind. I just don't know why it does that. Either way, that's the first part of it. And what will end up happening is that you would do that for each corner of the wall. So you see like this node right here is that add instance. There's one here, here, down here, down here. That's for all 4 of the walls. So for example, for my Third wall is the same thing except for without the door part. You know, you add the wall width. I have, you know, separate variable, so you calculate that. And then I just had to where use the same wall instancer, but this time I had to rotate the wall right here, and then plug into the Y value, and then of course multiply by 211 from the index. And you might have to play around with this value, these rotations and location values, because you may have done it in a different order than I have, because I actually do not remember which wall this was. Each of these sets represents a wall. Now, first wall, second wall, I also have a corner piece here, this little side piece. What I did for that is basically just, you know, at the completion of each for loop, I will, before going to the next for loop, add the corner piece instance. And when I did the corner piece instance, the only thing you really have to do for the first part is just rotate it. But for second parts though, you will have to get the probably like the width of the wall or the length of the wall, depending on which side you're on. And I had to do some tweaks. I have to like add 1 to it. Sometimes you may have to do that, you may not have to do it, depends. And then multiply by 211, which is the, you know, wall length. And that's also the same width of my corner piece as well, so it's all even. And then I will just multiply that and put into the Y value, and then I would plug in the location and then add instance from the corner piece. Then go on to over here, and that's basically what I did for the entire thing for the walls. But you also see I have floors and ceiling. The floor and the ceiling is the same thing, so I'm just going to cover one. The only difference is that the ceiling I just had the Z value raised up for all of them, but that's yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to go with the floor. Not hard at all. If you if you're a programmer, you've probably seen this method in like your coding language or whatever. It's basically a nested for loop. See, it's the first one in the body, the second one in the body. And if you know about like nested for loops and everything, if you have like, say you're programming in Java or whatever, you know, you may have a matrix variable. And so, you know, you have 2 values to plug into, and the best way to access those 2 values is to use a nested for loop and have one counter be accessing one side of the matrix, and have the other counter access the columns of the matrix, or rows and the columns kind of concept. And so, basically, what I did here, it'll end once this last for loop is done, but this stuff right here is the same. Just take the let's see, I'm gonna go over here, right there. Gotta see, I don't even remember what I did for the measurements. 100 by 100 by 0. Yeah. Anyway, these numbers, have no idea what they are, but just know that like you get to use your same wall length to count the floors. These numbers are really arbitrary. I just had to pick whatever worked for mine, but you meant to play with these. Just start off by like plugging in the wall by itself, and then later start adding some extra numbers to get it to where, because these numbers right here just make sure that the floor doesn't clip into each other's. But it's the same thing to where you just add instance. You have to create a floor instance. And by the way, I put all these into variables so that I was actually going to have these random generate instead of being procedural. So this is a procedural generator, but at the same time, I actually planned the procedural generator just to test it so that I could later have it spawn, have it randomly generate. But anyway, so you spawn the floor, you spawn the first floor distance, floor, you know, the same location here. I had to rotate it a bit, and then essentially you saw that these floors are 100 by 100, so just like you multiply by the width of it, or the height of it. In this case, it'll be the same thing anyway. I had to subtract that actually for some other reason. I don't remember actually. It's another tweakable value you have to change yourself. But plug that to X, and then you get the location, and then on over here to make sure it's still recording. I would be furious if it's not still recording. And it's still recording. Make sure my PC's not burning up real quick. You don't mind if I just stop? Alright, cool. I just bought a new fan controller, that's why I need to check that, just make sure. But anyway, so in the second for loop, this is the second for loop, and that's also generating the same floor instance, the same exact one. And except for this one right here it's practically the same. It's almost exactly the same, just going different directions. Cause see, this one is got the X value and the has the X value and the Y value plugged into, while this one just had the X value plugged into. Because if I remember correctly, I could show you this one. Let's hope this one doesn't break. Okay, yeah, perfect. This is exactly what it does. Kind of hard to see, but this little row right here goes all the way through and kind of clips to the wall because you won't see it anyway. It's fine. But this is actually like the column, and since like when you have this for loop inside of another for loop, it multiplies the for loop. So it basically creates this column, and then when you plug in the other for loop, it makes that column down here, and goes all the way through the building until the width is done. And those are, let me make sure I have this right. So wall lengths, wall width, yeah. And for the first for loop, plug in like the length variable, and then for the second for loop, plug in the width variable. That way, so they'll multiply together. And when you multiply them together, of course, you get a full-on floor. And legit for the ceiling, I just replicated the same thing, except for the I had to break. No, I didn't. Right here, I just got the height of my walls, and I just like typed that in directly for like both of these, and then that's fine. That'll work. And so that's basically just the gist of how you make procedural content. This is just like little test stuff I have going here. Of course, I'll have to make it not look like crap. Like for example, this will actually need to have a floor corner piece, and I'll also want to be able to have stairs in the house and a hole that go through the stairs, which a hole would be just like creating holes is basically just like how I made the I'll show you now. It's just like how I made the door. So you pick a spot in your loop to where you know it will be at, and then you make a for loop and you set the like wall location, window location, door location, floor location, and then you say if it's this number, do nothing, so skip it essentially. If not, continue as normal. And it's a false statement. But yeah, this is basically how you would kind of get, well, my way of getting started with procedural content. Please remember to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.